Hi there, I'm Vinil Vadi, CTO at SuneraTech. Welcome to the Digital and Data edition of SuneraTech's Digital Acceleration Summit. I'm very excited to host this next discussion on the hottest topic going around town, automation, or going by the new avatar, intelligent automation when powered by AI and analytics. Automation has been a major force reshaping work long before the pandemic. Now it's taking on a new urgency, not just in the context of cost optimization, but also as a tool for risk mitigation and, most importantly, creating business resiliency. COVID-19 has just made automation a boardroom imperative. Today, we have four special guests sharing insights into how they are leveraging intelligent automation to make businesses more agile, resilient, and efficient. Automation, when combined with AI and analytics, is often seen as a competitive weapon. However, its impact is unevenly distributed. While optimistic about the future, a leading research firm states that only 21% of executives see significant results from automation initiatives. Then the big question remains, why is the success not more pervasive? Let's hear and learn from the leaders in this panel on some of the strategies that they used to successfully navigate automation initiatives and deliver the expected outcomes, or in some instances even exceeded the expected outcomes. I hope you will enjoy this session and you will be able to take away significant insights on how to navigate automation initiatives successfully. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the panel discussion on automation evolution, strategies to accelerate digital transformation using automation, AI, and analytics in the new normal. The pandemic has changed everything, the way we live and work. That change has created an opportunity to start over, to free people from the limitations of just not following traditional best practices and policies in business, and use automation powered by AI and analytics to fundamentally change the way we operate to become agile, resilient, and future-ready businesses. It has given us an opportunity to rethink what works best for us, for our customers, employees, and partners today. To discuss this, I'm excited to have a distinguished panel join us today, starting with John Thompson, CIO of Reader-affiliated companies. The best way to sum up John is him being a customer-obsessed leader. He has over 20 years of experience in delivering world-class operational, transformational, and technology strategies that drive business growth, profitability, and reputation. He's passionate about managing large, complex digital programs while leveraging IT to pragmatically achieve business outcomes and create new opportunities. Through his multinational and global roles in FMCG, utilities, and telecommunication sectors, he has a demonstrated track record of deploying scalable, efficient, and integrated business support models and digital solutions. He has developed deep insights on successfully delivering digital transformation initiatives, having successfully worked across diverse cultures, customer landscapes while living in and working in UK, India, Australia, and the United States, giving him the unique ability to successfully lead multinational programs and teams.
Thank you, Vinil, and good morning to you.
And it's always a pleasure to have a conversation. There's always those power-packed insights and valuable insights that I always take away from your conversation. So let's get this thing rolling with a broader question for you, John. Reader-affiliated companies, or RAC as we call it, is the largest fresh multi-berry producer in the world today, growing Driscoll's proprietary varieties for berries, a brand that has become an integral part of our breakfast ritual for most of us. Can you introduce your company and talk about the scale and complexity of the business operations at RAC?
Yeah, sure can. So RAC's a privately owned business, and we have operations across the globe. We have farms in Europe, predominantly in Portugal and Germany, in North Africa through Morocco. We then have substantial farming in the USA, in Mexico, central Mexico, and also Baja. We also have farms in British Columbia, up there in Canada, a small operation in Peru, and we're starting farming operations in China as well. it's a very interesting organization. We farm, as you mentioned, a lot of those berries that people tend to select for breakfasts or smoothies. So we grow 4 berry types. That would be strawberry, blackberry, raspberry, and blueberries. And a significant note to mention is that we only have one customer, and that's Driscoll's, who we provide all of our berries to across the globe. At our peak harvest, we would have in excess of 30,000 people working for us. So we're primarily a people business. Those people are employed to grow the most delightful and best looking berries for those consumers that ultimately eat those each and every day.
Fantastic company you have there, John, and some great perspectives on the scale of global operations you run there. As a segue to the earlier topic and extending some of the thoughts from there, it's interesting that RAK, like all food producers, has seen a sharp jump in demand for their product during the pandemic, which I'm guessing sure calls for quickly scaling your business operations. So can you speak a little bit about how you're looking at automation to scale some of those business operations quickly and efficiently across functions like your supply chain, workforce management, or customer experience?
Yes, certainly. Well, RAK have gone through tremendous growth for the past 20 years, doubling revenues and size every 5 years. And that's a trend that we aim to continue over the next 5 to 10 years also. We're now at a scale where we can't continue to do things the way we used to do them. And really, we have to look at opportunities to digitize that whole footprint. I mentioned before that we're predominantly a people business, and scaling operations to 30,000 people in the future to maybe 60,000 people would be a huge task for us had we continued with the same applications, same processes that were highly manual in the past. So we definitely have implemented a few projects this year that really has built some momentum in terms of digitizing that whole footprint to help us there with that scalability. We also focus a lot on value, and we have actually started to introduce RPA as well during that journey, and we've seen some huge benefits of that, which I'd like to talk a little more about later. And then finally, we appreciate now that I mentioned we have that one customer in Driscoll's whose consumers really go to the Driscoll's product or go to our berries because of that delight. So we're looking now at a lot more insight, a lot more IoT that we're deploying there so that we can actually manage those growing conditions to actually make sure that, and key to our mission at Writer, which is that relentless pursuit to delight our consumers, but it's also to enrich our employees and the communities that they live in. And really, using the IoT, we can do a lot of that around those growing conditions, safe conditions for our harvesters, but also managing important resources like water and fertilization, but still getting those best, most delightful berries to the consumer as well.
Thanks, John. Those are some really great insights. One last question before I let you go. As you were mentioning earlier in the conversation, given RAK's critical need for accelerating some of the digital initiatives that you talked about to bring in business efficiencies, can you also talk about your strategies around how you prioritize, accelerate, and execute some of these initiatives while ensuring that the target outcomes are met?
Sure, and that's really important, Vinil. I've got sort of 4 or 5 things that I'd like to share with the audience, because when we start talking about IoT and RPA and digitization, they're all funky IT acronyms in terms that we all know and use every day. But to the business, and to certainly our business, which, you know, that people are farmers there, what does IoT mean to them? What even does the acronym mean? RPA, what does that mean to me as a person? Robot's going to be doing my job in the future. So it's really important. So the first thing I would say that it's really important, and something that my team and I did a year ago now at the start of the looking at that transformation journey for RAK, was really to get that business stakeholder ownership in place. And it built confidence from day one across the exec team. So I made sure that the exec team were all bought in from day one in terms of that transformation. And my real sort of key takeout here is that if the executive team are not bought in, or you don't get a business exec as a stakeholder for a particular project, then don't do the project, don't push it, don't try and do something because we as technologists think it's the right thing to do, and it probably is the right thing to do. We really need to get that business stakeholder behind that and leading that change across the organization. The second thing would be, and it's a slight take on the first one, that we involve business SMEs right from the start. So they felt empowered, they owned it, they really did own these projects because we involved them in actually even the pre-design phase around looking at opportunities with their business. It wasn't at any point in that journey that the business thought that we were imposing technology or owning or changing their business processes to get certain outcomes. So we got them to own it from day one, and throughout the project, they actually pulled through. It wasn't IT or technology pushing those objectives. The third point, which really helped, is make sure you choose the right system integrator, one that lives your values. And we have some very strong values at RAC of honesty, fairness, and respect. And we chose a partner that really embraced those values too. And what we did is we had outcome-based contracts with an outcome-based contract with that partner. And we even put risk-reward criteria in the contract as well. And it made sure and enabled that we all achieved the outcomes we were looking for within the budget, within the timeliness that we were looking for. And that was really important, but to treat that system integrator as a true partner of the business. The fourth one, and we all try to do this in our normal projects anyway, but let's be really agile and try and deliver wins to the business in short, sharp runs. We, with our HR, a global HR tool that we rolled out, we chose not to roll out all of the modules of that HR tool. We chose the 3 core modules, and we rolled those out within 6 months. 6 months is a long time, but at least it gave the business some of those wins in 6 months, some significant wins. We upgraded our ERP. Our ERP, an upgrade, it's kind of a thankless task, really. But within the contract with our partner, we actually put clauses in there to actually say, well, whilst we're going through the testing and running the scripts, let's try and identify processes for the future that we could optimize. Let's look at those processes that we could automate and deploy our PA. So again, we built a phase 2 project whilst we were doing the upgrade, but it gave a lot more excitement to the business users who could see all this hard work through the upgrade. Was huge benefits thereafter in terms of standard processes across the globe, looking at automating a lot of those processes across the globe and giving them more time back to do other value things within their working day. So again, being very agile and thinking about the future. And then finally, it would be to communicate. And it doesn't have to be a lengthy report or a monthly update. Just, we were using a lot of Teams chat. I was sending updates to the execs, just a sentence or two. And I think in this new world, having communication at fingertips daily, hourly as things unfold, but as long as it's easy for them to consume. And we found that worked really well. We did have our standard monthly steer goes, but that was then supported with general communications using simple things like Teams IM throughout the project. So those would be the sort of the 5 areas that we focused on. We're moving into a very big phase 2 in 2021, and we'll certainly be using those same priorities. We have also learnt a lot around our organization in terms of managing change, and some of that's not been easy for my team to manage and our business to consume. Change is huge for people, and we need to really focus on that. And as I said, it is all about our people, our staff, and ultimately the consumer. So those first 2 points around stakeholder ownership and getting the right people involved and feeling that they own it, that's just super critical, super critical. Vinil, thank you. It's been my pleasure. And enjoy the rest of the conference.
Next up, we have a very interesting leader joining us. But before that, to build out some context on the next conversation, the pandemic has changed everything. The way we live, the way we work, that change has created an opportunity to start over, to free people from the limitations of just following some of the traditional business practices and policies that we've been following in business for as long as I remember. And especially in the area of how we operate and engage with our employees, more from a human resources organization perspective. It is an opportunity for us to rethink what works best for our employees today. We are lucky to have Sufel Barkat join us today. He's the head of HRIS at AJ Gallaghar, one of the largest insurance companies in the world, and in this thought leadership session, to explore the changes brought on by the pandemic and what HR business leaders should consider to meet those challenges and take advantage of the current situation. So before coming to AJ Gallaghar, Sufel spent a lot of time at large corporations like GE, Hyatt Hotels, and Accenture, where he was consulting and he was devising and executing on strategies to optimize systems, process, and tools and ensure digital transformation is executed to drive growth and engagement among employees. So welcome, Sufel. Thank you so much, and very glad to have you on the show here today.
Hey, again, thank you everyone for having me here today. I do want to thank the Distill Summit for ensuring that they do a great job at bringing in great resources to help assist in everyone and provide information and share information across the board. So I do want to thank the summit and everybody that's participating in ensuring that it is a success. And thank you, SuneraTech, for having me here today on the panel. I do appreciate it and look forward to the questions we're about to answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Sufel. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. They're always power-packed with valuable insights for the audience. So let's get this rolling with a broader question for you, Sufel. Right now, we see that there's a lot of disruption happening in the insurance space, especially with a lot of startups disrupting the existing models, making insurance a hotbed for digital innovation, I guess, if you may. In response, traditional companies are seeing an urgent need to embrace change and rethink some of those business models to move towards a more compliant, agile, and digitally enabled operating model to enhance some of the customer and employee stakeholder experiences. And when it comes to new digital tools like automation, AI, and analytics capabilities, these are being embraced to help streamline new product development, make new digital experiences, and transform some of the key functions, right from marketing, distribution, underwriting, claims to finance and accounting. Given this, can you throw some light on the broader industry transformation state and also probably double click on some of the strategic direction that AJ Gallaghar is taking today?
That's a great question. I appreciate you asking that question. So from an industry perspective, now this is my own personal opinion, but the insurance market is getting much, let's say, smaller as far as consolidations are occurring, acquisitions are occurring, mergers are occurring, and so with a lot of these changes occurring in the marketplace, I think there's a lot of let's say opportunity for positioning companies to be more agile and more flexible and get automation to help ensure that they can do things faster, quicker, and less expensive. And I think that's taking the industry and the companies through a lot of change management to ensure that the company's processes and let's say industry components can now absorb the let's say the lightning speed at things occurring. So the acquisition process in the insurance industry is happening more and more. They're taking on more of the smaller businesses and bringing them on board. And with that, we need to make sure we're more agile and we're more flexible to ensure that we can do that from an HR perspective quickly and easily, to ensure that things like that occur, very, very smoothly. Our employees are our biggest asset. And so we need to make sure that when we do acquire employees, that we bring them in, smoothly, and that they're happy with the transition, joining Gallaghar as a company or any other insurance company, as a matter of fact.
All right, great perspectives there, Sufel. And as an extension to that thought, and continuing the thread from the earlier question, you being a key leader in the digital transformation formulation, focused on transitioning some of your current business processes, especially around HR, and trying to transform them into a lean, secure, and economically scalable function. Can you talk about how you're bringing together automation and advanced analytics and some of the digital initiatives, including cloud, to accelerate value creation in the HR function to drive growth?
No, thank you for that follow-up question. That is a great follow-up question as well. So we have started to implement, and I thank God that we did start doing this, a few years back. So we started looking into how to revert and leverage technology and automation components to help us get to that end goal. We migrated off of any on-premise systems that we had from an HR perspective, and we migrated over to a, more of a cloud-based, application and system. Especially nowadays with all of the, let's say, hacking going on in the industry, security being a main focus in the industry, we need to ensure that things stay secure, and for our own internal folks to be able to keep up. It gets pretty difficult, right? So it makes it a lot easier when you're in the cloud to ensure that the automation can be applied, the security can be applied, and the smoothness or the frequency of it occurring is completely, let's say, feasible for you to ensure that it happens quickly. So some of the things we've taken into consideration a few years back was to migrate to the cloud on our HR systems. And then we implemented tools around that to help us automate and securely ensure that we can keep up with the new, let's say, research and development components that the industry is doing, that the software vendors are doing. And we've leveraged cloud testers. So testing in the cloud that helps us automate the testing process, regression testing, so we can take advantage of new patches, new features, functionalities, and get them up and running quickly. We've also taken advantage of automated acquisition processes to onboard employees, bring them onto our payroll, get them up and running quickly, using some of these features and functions and automation tools, using artificial intelligence, workflows, chatbots, you name it. We have a piece of a little bit of everything. We're just, let's say, on the brink of getting used to using these components. And once we get used to using these technologies and these new processes and get more comfortable, I think the floodgates are going to open for a lot more usage to happen in various areas across the HR functions globally. So we roll out components that are automated for specific purposes across the board many times, and focus on specific countries and employees first, and then once that's a success, we make it available to the bigger audiences. So that's been our strategy and our approach in implementing technologies. We've done, like I said, testing automation. We've done patching automation, and working with some of our software vendors like SuneraTech and Oracle. We've come a long way in the last few years as far as making things work and leveraging the automated tools that we have available to us. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks, Sufel. Those are some really great insights. One last question before I let you go. Given AJG's critical need for accelerating digital initiatives, and some of them you've already talked about. In fact, you talked about a lot of those digital initiatives that you planned for 2021 across multiple HR business operations. Can you talk about your strategies on how you prioritize in accelerating and executing some of these initiatives while ensuring that the target outcomes are met?
No, that's a great question as well. Follow up on the previous question. So I'll start from the where you ended and work backwards. In my personal experience and my personal expertise has been showing that the execution of these components is actually the simplest part of it. We spend a lot of time, and our strategy and our kind of process has been spending as much time as you can on the processes, change management, and on the ROI. So explaining and ensuring that there's a business case, ensuring that there is going to be an ROI at the end of the day, and then getting it prioritized accordingly. So depending on how much cost efficiencies, process efficiencies gain you're going to have, we prioritize that project accordingly, right? So if it does have if it's a no-brainer, you're going to save X number of dollars over 3 years as a TCO, then the leadership team quickly says yes, prioritize this one, let's go with it, number one priority. So we spend a lot of time kind of getting that stack in place, which is the ROI, the TCO, the change management component, the resources, where they're going to be coming from, and what that's going to look like over 3 to 5 years. And once we have that justification and we have buy-in from leadership on that, the prioritization becomes a no-brainer. And then the execution is basically left up to myself and others on my team to ensure that we bring in the right skill sets and the right resources to execute on according to that ROI and meet those business cases, the change management component, and ensure that we are as close as possible to the TCO that we had originally presented. And then the prioritization happens with the pipeline, kind of saying, okay, what else is going on during that period of time, and what additional resources do we need? And we bring on those resources accordingly. And then the execution is left. I have a team of project managers. So I assign it to one of them, and then they run with the project and ensure that they work with our partners in bringing up that technology or automating a process or ensuring that the change management component across our employees is managed properly and communicated. Of course, that's the biggest component of change management is communication. So we ensure that everyone knows what's coming, when it's coming, how it's coming. As far as the testing is concerned, we also ensure that there's a testing buffer in each one of these projects. So when we do our user acceptance testing, we do a thorough job of ensuring that we leverage automated scripts where we can, and as well as human resources where we can, to help us ensure that the testing across, and then we pull in resources globally. So they come in from other countries, from different places, to ensure that it's working for them as well. And unless we get sign off from every single component, from the technology, from the process, from the change management, and from the system side, we do not move forward. And once we have that appropriate sign off, we go ahead and migrate to production, and then we start reaping the benefits. A good example of that is in HR, we have what we call the PAF form, or the profile form for an employee. That was a manual process before we went to the cloud. Once we got to the cloud, we automated that process and built it into our tools that we had in the system using technology. And now a lot of the processes around termination, salary changes, promotions, managing employees is all automated using self-service components, as well as workflows and scripts that we have created. So they work really well together, and the automation is coming forward more and more. And as we find that to be a success, we're looking at other processes consistently. A lot of requests are coming in. The pipeline is very large to ensure that we can leverage a lot of the tools that we have available to us now. Thank you very much for your time and your questions. On a follow-up note, I know I spoke about how to prioritize projects as number one, but on the opposite end of that, I did want to end with if projects didn't qualify or didn't have an ROI or business case, it's fairly obvious, but those projects would get either dropped or pushed to the bottom of the stack as low priorities. Just informational. But thank you again. And thank everyone. Hopefully this does help assist them in kind of framing their processes around automation and ensuring that their organization can take advantage of some of the information I've provided. So hopefully they can proceed in that manner as well. Next
up, we have Sarma Malladi. He's the global CIO at SWM International. Sarma is an accomplished IT leader. He has been leading transformative digital initiatives at global organizations. He has a track record for consistently building strategic value across multi-billion-dollar corporations by leveraging digital technologies. He has developed and implemented strategic digital roadmaps designed to support enterprise business strategy with significant ROI. He has led the creation of digital enterprise blueprints to simplify application architectures to deliver integrated business process environments. In his current role as CIO for SWM International, a global engineering company, he has created several business-aligned digital strategies. He has the distinction of leading and delivering strategic digital initiatives while ensuring minimal disruption to the business. Welcome, Sarma. Thank you, and very glad to have you on the show.
Thanks, Vinil. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Sarma. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. They're always power-packed with valuable insights for the audience. So let's get this rolling with a broader question for you. Globally, product engineering and manufacturing industry is being reshaped by numerous risk factors, including the supply and demand imbalance, higher operating costs, increased pressure from investors. And as competition becomes tougher, product engineering businesses are looking to improve data management and integrate digital technologies within their operations. However, we've seen that in this sector, it's slightly lagging behind other industries in terms of digital maturity. Can you throw some light on the broader state of the industry transformation and how you see where it's going, and also provide some insight into SWM's own digital strategy and direction?
Sure, Vinil. I agree with you. Indeed, these sectors are lagging behind. In my opinion, there are several factors: inadequate levels of awareness, lack of sponsorship from the top, and lack of organizational commitment. Also, in general, there is inherent skepticism in technology levers delivering a business value. Majority of manufacturing industry is still working using the old operating models. To some extent, disparate systems, lack of standardization, insufficient data is also constraining those organizations in making enough progress, even in enterprises with progressive thinking leadership. At SWM, we have been fortunate in overcoming some of these challenges and are making good progress. We have seen success with the approach of building a lighthouse plant and prove it out, and then expanding this to what I call fast follower plants. Mind you, that some such experiments may not pan out, and the organization must be ready to the idea of fail fast and move on. Even for the lighthouse plants, it's not necessary to have a perfect underlying foundation or infrastructure. Creating an abstract layer for the data from many disparate systems and building your technology solutions based on those abstractions will allow you to make progress and not depend on the modernization of the underlying transactional legacy systems. We have made strides in delivering AI, machine learning based advanced analytics capabilities for making needed predictions to improve quality and reduce cost of production. Also leveraging augmented reality based solutions to capture expert knowledge and accelerate onboarding of new technicians. We have also taken a similar approach by building pilots both with RPA and robotic solutions to automate repetitive and expensive manual tasks with a goal to improve productivity and reduce cost of production. Success from these pilots will significantly help in cementing the support needed from the business stakeholders and accelerating the journey for improved ROI.
All right, those are some great perspectives, and thank you for them. And as a segue to the earlier question, a recent Deloitte report that I was reading suggests that product engineering players are struggling with higher operating costs, especially post-pandemic, and also a decline in the skilled workforce, and which is creating a heightened pressure from investors. So like you mentioned earlier, digital transformation initiatives like the ones that you did with the Lighthouse project at SWIM and other automation seems to have become a strategic imperative of critical importance to address some of these issues. Can you talk a little bit about how you're looking at automation, AI, and analytics to bring in these required efficiencies in the business operations quickly and efficiently across some of the areas that you're looking after, like supply chain? We talked about workforce management and customer experience.
I can certainly cite two different use cases. The first one is around capturing tribal knowledge. Most of the manufacturing companies are dealing with aging workforce with skills and competencies that are difficult to replace. So there is a risk of losing this tribal knowledge when these individuals chose to retire. Imagine a production line outage. Some plants lose many hours of production capacity waiting for the experienced engineer to arrive and fix the problem. Value leakage includes cost associated with the production capacity loss, as well as travel costs. Using augmented reality, you can capture this knowledge. The video content can then be edited to create easy to follow training instructions. And you can deliver this to the local mechanic with a headset, where a step-by-step instruction can be given to expedite resolution. What this does, it minimizes the value leakage. Second example is around quality issues or high scrap rates. These are sources of high manufacturing costs, right? They inhibit companies from effectively competing in the market and becoming the supplier of choice. The traditional continuous improvement or Six Sigma methods have only delivered marginal improvements. When there are many parameters that could be influencing the production outcomes, and it's not easy for the production engineers to easily make correlations, that's where AI, machine learning based advanced analytics, digital capabilities come into play to help them understand the top few critical parameters among the many hundreds that are to be adjusted for achieving a step change. Imagine equipping the manufacturing operational leadership with insights that allow them to commit to a 50% or a 70% reduction in the current scrap rates versus the traditional 2 to 3% improvements through the CI efforts. Significant difference, right? A reduction to that degree will position the company to achieve significant operating margin improvement and position them to compete better in the market with high price pressures.
Thanks, Sarma. Those were some great insights. One last question before I let you go. As you were mentioning earlier in the conversation, given the factors of aging workforce and the need to reduce waste, you talked about driving higher quality and bringing in more efficiencies. These are so many areas that need accelerated digital transformation and automation, right, across your processes. Can you talk about, given that there are so many initiatives, can you talk about your strategies around how you prioritize and accelerate and execute some of these initiatives while ensuring that the target outcomes are met?
Sure. I have already talked about our foray in each of these disruptive technology areas. Advanced analytics to make predictions, augmented reality for capturing tribal knowledge, RPA for productivity improvement by eliminating high volume and repetitive tasks, and use of robotics for improved employment. Our pilots in each of these areas have proven the value from such pursuits. Now, to scale this, our strategy is conducting workshops in each area with relevant teams in what I call the fast follower plants or functions as a way to identify, prioritize, and implement these solutions. Understanding the current value leakage, cost of implementation, resource availability, pre-work that may be needed, such as M3.0 work, and how well are these aligned to your overarching strategic goals, are all the parameters used to build the roadmap. Another element that we also need to be looking at is building the requisite competencies and the resource pool. We have trained several people on these tools across the organization to build the basic competencies needed. However, that only gets you, so far, right? It takes time to build the requisite expertise. Hence, we have also established a partner network needed to scale these implementations. Thank you.
Hello again, everybody. Thank you for tuning into this exciting discussion. I hope you enjoyed this session and you all are able to take away some significant insights on how to successfully navigate automation initiatives. On another note, tomorrow we have another exciting panel discussing ideas, strategies, and frameworks of how to leverage intelligent automation to fundamentally change how enterprises operate and deliver value to the customers. We have a great lineup of speakers there. Hoping to see you all there. Stay tuned and have a great day. Thank you.